Hey everyone, welcome to the world first Boardside podcast interview. We're doing something a little bit different. We're going to see how it goes. World first, like I said. So I'm here with RyanGodric. I'm just going to let Ryan take it. If you were a box of cereal, what would your back of the box description be? How do you describe yourself to people who don't know who you are?
Crunchy. My name's RyanGodric. I stream Gwent, or used to stream Gwent. I will be back streaming Gwent as well. At the moment, I'm trying to finish my studies, so I have more time for Gwent. And I love all of the Gwent community and the content creation side of it. So I want to do more content for people to consume while they're not playing Gwent. So stuff like listening to Gwent podcasts and maybe watching Gwent videos while they're not playing.
Nice. So everything Gwent, basically. More Gwent's always good. Now, before we get into it, I got to ask, how good are you really at Gwent charades?
I am an excellent Gwent charade player
Yeah?
because I don't care about making a fool of myself.
Well, that's good for charades, because I hate charades personally, because I think it's so embarrassed about it.
Yeah, you would be crushed.
Yeah, I probably would. Can I ask for one live, or is that too much? And I can try and guess
hit
it.
Hit me with anything. Oh wait, yeah. Damn.
It's the opposite. You got to give me something.
Okay, so any kind of card.
Anything.
Any kind of card. Okay, let me think of one real quick. I've got Gwent open on the side.
Perfect, as everyone should, really.
So normally, as you should know, when we play Gwent charade, one person gives a card secretly to another person, and that has to enact it. That person enacts the card in front of the group, and then everybody guesses the card.
Yep.
And then that person has to do the next one. But for this one, I'll go with...
Give yourself a card for this one.
Yeah. Okay, this is a signature one.
Okay,
here we go.
Okay.
I'm going to do it on my knees so you cannot see it, but... How about this?
Okay.
Wait.
I'm ready.
Wait. Okay.
It's Renew.
Thank you.
It's Renew. It's too easy.
That was too easy, huh?
No, that was good. That was well done. I don't want to ask for anything too complicated without any preparation. That was good. I like it. So let's move back a bit from Gwent. So we're a similar age. We're both young dudes, we could say. Yeah, we could say that, couldn't we? We're still young.
Yeah, I think so. I would say.
Yeah, of course. So have you been a big? Because I know a lot of people who may not necessarily have played a lot of games when they were younger, maybe get into it later on, or especially I find with strategy games, or even card games, especially because not that Gwent is quite on mobile yet, but a lot of people would get into a card game, say on mobile, and they've never really played any sort of game or anything before that. Are you a seasoned gamer from back in the day, or what's your kind of history with games in general?
I would say so. I mean, it's very specific. I think everybody has a very specific game history because there were so many broad games and consoles out there that you could have used in your childhood. But for me, it all started when my father was gifted a PlayStation 2 for Christmas by my grandparents.
Wow.
And he didn't use it much, but I did. So I played a shit ton of ATV Quad Racing 2, which was a quad racing game, as the title says. But the best part was that you could use your, what are they called, shoulder buttons on the back of the controller. So you could actually kick people off the bike next to you if you were next to them. And yeah, it had a arcade mode where you can do tricks and everything and gain energy. So that was a super good game. And then that led to me also buying a PlayStation 3 later on. And I played a lot of, I'd say, story games like The Last of Us and BioShock, and also some multiplayer shooters like Call of Duty back in the days, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I believe, and then 3 on the PC later on. Such good games.
So
Black Ops 2. And yeah, I actually mixed a lot swapped between PlayStation and PC. And I also, on the handheld side, I used to play a bit of Nintendo, DS and DS Lite and that kind of stuff. But I wasn't investing too much into that. I played like Pokemon and maybe a few. Actually, there were probably some games which I won't remember now because they were very specific. I don't know if you remember that, but if you sometimes find like an old disc of any kind of game, you completely forgot about that game because it was so specific, like a movie game. Like, for example, I played Toy Story on PC or something like that. Super weird stuff, which you will never remember later on.
No,
But yeah, those were there.
that's cool, man. So you've been around.
I'd say so, yeah. But I didn't
Yeah,
play a lot of card games online, at
right.
least. I did collect cards like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Mm.
And played like with two friends maybe, but more on like house rules and never
Yeah,
professionally.
for sure. Yeah, same here. Like you were a big Yu-Gi-Oh guy, or not
Mm,
really?
I think yeah, I watched the anime and
Of
I
course.
played a bit. I played more Yu-Gi-Oh than Pokemon. Pokemon was more about collecting and obviously the
Yeah.
video games. But Yu-Gi-Oh, I think actually after I stopped collecting it, I found a deal online where you could buy like the 3 legendary cards, the
Are
3 dragons.
the
So
Egyptian god cards?
yeah, I kind
Oh,
of bought that as well
wow.
later on just to
Were
have
they
it.
were they real?
Hold on a second. Okay, I couldn't find the Yu-Gi-Oh ones, but I did find a folder of Pokemon cards, which has like
Oh,
some special ones
damn.
in there, like these. I did collect a few, but I stopped like after Diamond and Pearl, so
Right.
it's a bit outdated at this point.
That's cool, man. I had a mate who was really into collecting Pokemon cards, and I kind of wish I did too, because I never really got into Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh was the jam. So
It was a
those,
bit cooler.
yeah, it was. Those Egyptian god cards you had, were they real ones, or were they like
Yeah.
real?
No, you could. No, we had like fake real ones earlier,
Mm.
and there were some really like a lot of friendships that were destroyed because of those. Like people claiming, no, that is actually mine, and oh, sorry, that was actually mine. Sorry. Um, Especially about Obelisk, the blue
Oh,
buff
really?
guy.
Is he your favorite?
Yeah, weird choice, right? No. He's not my
He's
favorite.
not your favorite. Okay.
No, I was always for going for either Slither, the red
Yeah,
one that Yugi
yeah.
had, or obviously, I mean, Ra, the golden one is also pretty
They're all
epic.
pretty cool.
Yeah, but um, the ones that I bought later on was like a special pack online, and they weren't actually rare at that point because you could buy that pack for like 27 euros or something like
Okay.
that.
Right.
So
Still pretty cool though.
yeah, it's so pretty cool.
So like when did you get into what was your first foray into like the card game genre? 'Cause if you playing like, I wouldn't say like, I wouldn't say like mainstream games, but like Call of Duty and stuff, it's not like super niche, right? Like when
Mhm.
was your kind of foray into the a lot, more specific world of card games, online card games?
I think it actually started with Gwent. So I didn't play any Hearthstone or Magic. I played The Witcher 3 on my PlayStation 3, and I actually stopped playing because I've got a love and hate relationship with League of Legends, which is very unhealthy. So
Oh, okay then.
every
Okay.
now
The
and
truth
then
comes
I get,
out.
yeah, every now and then I get back into that game, and I always follow the esports scene, for example. But um, there's a time where you invest like a few weeks, like consecutive weeks into one game, and that was into Witcher 3. And then one day I was called by a friend to play some League again, and then I just completely forgot about my life and started playing League again. But then I wanted to continue playing Witcher 3. But the thing was, a friend of mine told me that there were some great books that series is based on. So I started reading those, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna read all of the books before I finish The Witcher, so I can do a rerun and actually get
Hmm.
a lot more information about the world. Um, but that took quite a while. And now I finished the books like a few years now, but I didn't finish The Witcher 3 since then because I now want to play or at least watch a let's play of The Witcher 1 and play The Witcher 2 before I play The Witcher 3. But with Gwent consuming so much time, I didn't get around to do that yet. But that is a plan to do that. But yeah, how I got into Gwent was that I then played The Witcher 3, obviously liked that one, and then um, found Gwent at a Gamescom booth 2017. And
Wow.
yeah, that's basically where it all started, where there was I think it was the Nilfgaard, there was some Nilfgaard expansion coming out.
Mm.
Um, I remember that I was playing the Infiltrator, for example, the first time there, where it actually triggered. Yeah, it was like that. You could turn on spying on a card, and then the combo was that there was also a card that I think it was Menno that killed a spying card. So yeah,
I,
Nilfgaard.
I think I remember that photo. You've got a photo with Biz, right? From that Gamescom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool because I got so I come from Cologne, where the city which is the city of Gamescom. So
Very convenient.
yeah, very convenient, and especially because I'm not quite sure how I did it that year, but every year I somehow get into the business section. I managed to get some professional tickets, not
Nice.
the pleb area where you have to wait, but actually get into the business booths, like the press area, basically. And Gwent actually had a business booth and a public booth, and I spent like 90% of my time in the public area because you could just play Gwent over and over again. There were cosplayers around. You had a tattoo artist, so I got a small
Wow.
tattoo, just like a day tattoo, nothing big, but it was really cool. And then I also went into the private area and got to play some Gwent behind closed doors. And also, I don't know if it was that year, but I think it was that year. It wasn't last year, was it? When Thronebreaker was teased.
Ooh, no, it must have been here. Must have been that year.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, 2017 as well, where you got a sneak peek at Thronebreaker, and we all got a goodie bag, which I've got lying around with the soup inside and the emblems and that kind of stuff.
That's
So
cool.
that was really cool. And at the Gwent booth, also I met Ash Cosplay, and she basically told me what streaming is and Twitch. So I checked her out online. She actually took a photo of me taking part in the Twitter contest, because that was their gimmick at their Gamescom booth. You could take a picture with these frames, the card frames,
Mm.
and I took part. I think there were like 20 other people that took part because it wasn't advertised very well. So I actually managed to win that Twitter contest, and I won like a small Geralt statue.
Wow,
And
that's
she
pretty
was the one
cool.
that took the picture.
There
So
you
we got in
go.
contact afterwards. I followed her on Twitch, and that's how I got into Gwent and Twitch myself.
Oh, cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, going back a bit, that's interesting to hear that. So, if correct me if I'm wrong, you have not finished The Witcher 3.
Yes, exactly.
That is correct.
Hmm.
Okay, that's interesting to know because I'm the same. I have not yet finished The Witcher 3, and
Oh,
you've probably had your fair share of. What do you mean you haven't finished The Witcher 3? Especially
hmm,
as a Gwent player. So,
yeah,
but you're saving yourself, right? Like you want to make sure you get the
exactly.
full experience out of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. That's good to hear. So that's cool. So yeah, so into Gwent, and then it's interesting how that was kind of your way into streaming as well. So you, for people who don't know, you do stream. You haven't been for a bit recently though, right? It's been a bit off and on, just for
Yeah,
quote unquote real life stuff.
yeah, exactly. I started streaming the winter after that Gamescom, so 2017 going into 2018, but very on and off, and also had a really bad internet connection at home. So my setup was really uh, well, low quality, I would say.
Right.
Um, and I streamed like once or twice a week maximum. So I didn't grow a lot during those days, but it was still fun to be part of the community. And then um, exactly 1 year ago, I moved into town, so I got a better internet connection. I bought myself a better camera and a green screen, and I decided to give it a bit more resources of my time, of my life. So I started streaming multiple days a week and more hours. Like in the evenings, I try to aim for like 4 to 5 times a week, and that helped me grow a lot and also meet a lot of new faces in Gwent. And also that was basically my ticket into Team Aretuza,
Mm.
um, my streaming site. And yeah, then university stuff came up, so now I'm trying to get that done in the next month until November when mobile drops. And once that is off, I'm basically done with my bachelor thesis. I'm studying media and culture and IT at the moment at the university in Cologne. So I want to get that behind me, get my degree, and do more full-time content creation for the next couple of months, whatever the Gwent future
Nice.
brings.
That's cool because you're very much like involved in the scene, I guess you call it, like the Gwent scene. Like you said, you're in fellow Aretuza member, and you're a challenger and did a lot of stuff there. So you're very much kind of you're in, right? So that'd be cool to be able to spend a lot more time in it once you've got the time.
Yeah, that's true. It's crazy to think to actually realize that, because like a few months ago, before I joined TA earlier this year, and before I was like flying to the tournaments and that kind of stuff, it was always like a big future if. What if I would actually be able to talk to these people in real life and, I don't know, be recognized by people on stream? And I mean, once you're there, you just realize it's such a great environment to work in, to stream in. And yeah, just so many nice people and friendships you make along the way.
Mm.
So I'm excited to get back into it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's how we met, right? I mean, we had a very interesting first encounter for
True.
most people probably don't know. Do you want to tell the story, or should I?
um, I don't know which perspective is funnier in this case, to be
They're
honest.
both
But
pretty good.
let
They're,
me take this,
all
because
right, you take
I
it.
was really baffled on that day, because I was
It was
streaming and
hilarious.
the clip is actually still out there, so you can definitely link it or something, because I was playing ranked and I think I was grinding for some season cutoff or
It
something.
must
I
have been
was
about
really being
four
serious.
months, 4 months ago, I think. I was
Yeah,
I
that
was
makes
very
sense.
new on the scene.
Mm.
Probably about a month streaming, I
And
think.
I always try to keep an eye out on new streamers on the Gwent scene, because I feel like chatting with new and smaller streamers is so much more fun. Obviously, it's fun to be part of the big scenes and like the big streamers, but you can have a really funny conversation with new people on the blog, because they also appreciate your conversation a lot more,
Mm.
because obviously for them, 2 more viewers is so much more important than someone that has like 300 viewers. So on that day, I was streaming myself and playing Gwent on the ladder, like pro rank, grinding real hard. And then a random guy queues into me and he plays Gascon. So that's the card that boosts between 0 and 10, I believe. And he's got 1 point. So he's the complete meme card. And I was thinking, who the hell plays that in a professional game on pro rank? And it actually boosts by 0 on that day. So that is such a great clip.
It was
And
incredible.
I think I remembered your name because I had to check who plays this card on Pro Rank. So after the stream was over, I decided to host someone, and it was actually Zade streaming there as well on the streaming Gwent sub. What's it called?
Category.
Category. Thank you. And yeah, so then I went into your stream, hosted you, and it was a really fun conversation
It
after
was.
that.
There was a good reason behind that. It was the season where the seasonal mode, like I think whatever you boosted got doubled in the seasonal mode. So I was
Ooh,
playing every
yeah.
card that boosted themselves, right? And it was a Demovan deck too, which was even better, because this is when Demovan was even worse than he is right now. And I was like, I just queued rank by accident. And it was, we're in pro rank, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna, immediately forfeit. At least I'll give it a try. And that's what happened. And he boosted by 0. The only time I've ever had Gascon boost by 0 was that game.
On stream live.
On stream, yeah. So that was quite an interesting interaction. So at that point, let's say like 4 months ago, were you pretty new in Aretuza at then? Or, because I don't actually know how long you've been in TA before.
Yeah, reasonably new. So when I got approached by Team Aretuza, that was actually last year in, I think it was like November or October actually. So it's quite a while back. But the whole process took a few months, because there was some restructuring going on inside of Team Aretuza, and people taking some time off for real life stuff. And so I think in January is actually when I joined. And then it also took like two months, I would say, to get into the action and actually like be a full member, just like learning all of the structure and the people and the workflows, and starting to creating videos as well, like deck reports. And yeah, but around that time I was settled in.
Mm. Well, what were your thoughts when whoever approached you? Were you kind of like taken aback, or had you heard of had you thought much of joining like a Gwent team before that, or was it all very new?
So before Team Aretuza approached me, there were some big Gwent names that joined Team Aretuza, but the biggest Gwent team at the start of the tournament scene was, I don't know if you remember, but Gwentelman and Top Deck, I think they were called later on.
Right, Top Deck, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the team with the big streamers and players in there, like Swim, for example, and I think Colomon was in there as well at some point. Um, but they also, yeah, they were mostly situated in America, and they were actually looking for content creators. So I wrote to them and said, "Hey, you know what? I would be down to go to Gamescom for you and write an article, maybe do some interviews at the venue." But that didn't really work out, and that was also during my time where I didn't stream much. But it was always like my dream to join the big team that was on the block. And so when I actually started streaming more, that was when Team Aretuza was like the top dog in the team esports scene and Gwent scene. So I was very happy to be approached by them, and I met a few people at Gamescom actually that were part of Team Aretuza, like Green Cricket and Apero, because they also had an appointment at the Cyberpunk booth last year. Exactly, that was last year. And I think the conversations we had were pretty good, and Cricket was also part of the management shortly after that. So, oh yeah, and we actually met Damo as well at Gamescom.
Mm.
So I basically met like the one founder and one co-CEO, and
It's
had some
people to
good
meet,
conversations.
really. So,
Yeah, exactly. And during that time, Mark Theus was still the main streaming manager of the team before he took a time off of Gwent. And I was good friends with him because I was watching his stream a lot, so he knew my stream as well. And then he approached me and said, "Hey, do you maybe want to join?" And Henno as well asked me, and I was super happy at that point because for me, I was always considering joining a team, but I didn't really want to, I don't know, request to be
mm.
on a team myself. I wanted to be approached by people saying, "Hey, we like what you do," and yeah, when that happened, I was very excited and very
Mm.
happy.
As you should have been. Like, it's a pretty cool
Yeah.
thing to be in. Were you just glad to be in there, or did you kind of have aspirations of, okay, I want to, like, because obviously you're pretty big content creator. Like, were you initially on the outset like, sweet, I'm going to start like making guides or going to events or things like that, or were you just kind of happy to see what was available when you joined?
Mm, I think it was two parts. So on the one side, I was excited to get more knowledge about the game. So in our Discord, we obviously talk a lot about Gwent itself, and we share a lot of decks, especially with the pro players like Ajikov, Kolomon, and then also people playing a lot of community tournaments like Santu and J Wilson, and some really, really good Gwent minds. And if they share their knowledge with you and you can ask them questions anytime, that improves your game so much. At
Mm.
least it helped me. And that was one thing I took from the team very early on, just the knowledge and also decks I could play on stream. And then the second part was when I joined, I talked to Swandive, who's still the content manager on our team. And she was really happy to hear my excitement because at the start, before I joined them, they obviously wanted to know what I had to offer them. So I put up a list of things I would love to do and was like full of stuff like streaming, YouTube videos, going to conventions, interviewing people. I actually did a short interview film with a cosplayer that is the official Regis cosplayer uh, because I wanted to do that kind of stuff for CDPR as well. And we never actually released it. It's still out there. I might actually release it one day, but
Might have to see
um,
it.
yeah, it's really funny. So basically, in the world, questions regarding Regis, and yeah, I posted all of that to them and said, "Hey, I would love to help out in video creation and streaming," and they were really happy to have someone so eager because obviously on our team, at least for during that time, it was all very voluntary. So they couldn't force anybody in the team to do content, and it was more of a group of friends that all had the same aspiration and the same eagerness to create something good. So they were very happy to have someone on the team that was as eager as they were. So
Mm.
I think it was more of a symbiosis. But at the start, it was more like, okay, I'm actually honored to be part of the team and I want to help you. And they were like, no, we're happy to have you. So
You
it
feel like
worked
you
out really well.
have to make something good to have them
Yeah,
impressed.
exactly.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's good when you're in kind of like a group of people who are obviously in it because they like what they do and what they can do, not for arbitrary reasons.
Yeah.
So it's
And
cool.
of course, it's lovely to make a living out of your hobby or your passion later on. But I
Mm.
think going in with the idea I need to make a living out of this, or I want to become successful with what I do, is a lot harder to then actually be successful because you rely on things a lot more. Like when people quit their day job to become a full-time streamer, I think it's definitely the wrong way to do it. You should definitely be a successful streamer before you even consider going away from your full-time job and quitting
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I mean, it's lovely if it works out in the end, but I think doing it for the self like fulfillment or for your own passion is the right reason to do it.
Yeah, definitely, 100% agree. I mean, if you are like super into it and dedicate time to it, then things will work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming to more recent events, so kind of more on the content creation side. So there's the Challenger 5 a couple of weeks ago, or even a few weeks ago at this point. Time seems to go just like that. It was recent.
2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks. Okay. So
Mhm.
so you were obviously there, and you did a lot of you're filming interviews. You did interviews yourself. A lot of filming and just like general content stuff. Was that something you always you kind of said you're kind of keen on going like to Gamescom and stuff like that? Was your first like actual full like Gwent Challenger event, or had you been to previous ones before that?
Um, I never went to a Gwent tournament before, so that was my first major like official tournament series. But a few months before that, I think it was June, we had the Thanet Cup that was also organized by CD Projekt Red and Team Aretuza, also in Warsaw at the New Meta Esports Bar. And there were actually a few professional players that flew in from all over Europe, like England, Germany, Poland, I think also Spain. Like Panda was there, for example. And we held a small community tournament with people also from Poland that were just happy to hang out for a weekend. And that was like my first impression I got of the Gwent community coming together, which was super amazing. And that was also where I and then also Lothari um, planted the idea in the minds of Repec and CDPR and their event team to maybe let us be at the official challenger and create some more background content. And I talked to Repec, and he was he liked the idea, obviously saying, "Hey, we can't really support you financially, but if you would come along, maybe we can do something together." And he I think was very happy then when we said, "Hey, yeah, no problem. We can pay for it ourselves first, because obviously you can't just let someone in and also pay for us because he didn't know what to expect from us." So
Yeah.
when we then got invited to the recent challenger, we decided to make this like super polished and give it like 150%. So it gets the best results we can hope for and also CDPR can hope for. So maybe in the future we can create even greater things together.
Mm.
And I think they were obviously at the start, they didn't know what to expect. So they were a bit skeptical because obviously they had people at the events before that as well, like family members or friends tagging along with players, but nothing really on the content side. Nobody coming there to create more professional content. So this was the first for us, and I think for them as well, um, at least in this video form. So yeah, we're
Mm.
hoping it's just the start of more things to come.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Like now the interviews are out, they're done. How do you think they turned out? Were they kind of what you hoped for?
Yeah, I think for what we were able to get at the event, it turned out really well. And there's a lot of things that we learn from the first experience there, because obviously you've got a lot of technical limitations. You need to have the camera equipment, the microphones, and the light setting. You need to have a good setting, first of all. So, for example, we were able to film in the hotel lobby where the players and the casters and analysts stayed. That was really cool because it was mostly quiet and had a nice background. And then we were also allowed to film at the CDPR headquarters in Warsaw, which was also like a nice background with the Witcher magazines, but at the same time, it was really loud because there were people coming in and going out all the time. So these are things that you definitely learn. And um, I think in general, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And yeah, definitely
Yeah,
happy.
I think they turned out well. Because I mean, you obviously did a bit of everything, right? When you've only got a few people who got to do everything, right? Everyone kind of takes a job at doing different sort of stuff. So you obviously
Mm.
did some interviews yourself. You did a lot of filming. Was that like? Would you ideally just do one of those things, or are you kind of keen to like get into a few different things and try them all out?
Mm. I think that's a very good question that I also ask myself a lot recently, because also considering the next events, I haven't decided myself yet what I want to focus on, because I would love to work in front of the camera and
Mm,
do just interviews or maybe casting or analyzing games, doing pre-shows, being a host, that kind of stuff. I just love drawing people in and talking to people. Um, and being like in the spotlight of a situation. Like I did a bit of acting and like in school and that kind of stuff, and I always really enjoyed it. But at the same time, um, I also like to have the creative control over, like for example, the camera. And at that tournament now, I was um, basically doing camera and audio together with the others, because I brought the equipment there and I was the one that knew how this specific camera and microphone worked. So I did most of that. While, for example, Lafari wrote all of the questions for the interviews. And so I could focus on the technical side. She wrote the scripts. Um, so we had a good distribution of work there. But I think in an ideal world, I would have someone there that only focuses on the technical side. So I could yeah, basically just stand in front of the camera and talk to people,
mm.
or yeah, do more on-screen things. But I think you always have to do compromises in these kind of situations, and there's a lot of work to be distributed. So I'm very happy to have people on my team, like this one guy that does so much editing, but never gets any spotlight because
Yeah,
it's the
who could
TV
that
job,
be?
right? I don't know, some guy
Someone.
from a imaginary country
Yeah,
next to Australia.
I don't know. That is, yeah, yeah. That's cool. Like, I think there's something to be said too about being able to do like a few different things. It's like keeps the variety going and gets a bit of
Mhm.
practice and kind of everything, which is cool. And you sound very versed in like media stuff in general, right? Like filming, interviewing, and you said you're studying media and IT, right? So this is like your would you call it your profession, I guess?
Yeah, I guess the media world is very broad and very diverse.
It is.
So I haven't figured out what I want to do yet with my life in that regard. So I'm still trying to figure out what I like and what creates the most passion. And it is somewhere between movies and video games and like broadcasting, I would say, because um, I always loved movies and video games, like since I was young, and also music. But I figured out that for music, I'm not creative enough in that regards, or not musical enough. No, I don't have enough musical experience, I would
Mm,
say. But I still really enjoy listening to music, and um, I think I started learning a bit about like the technical side in school. We had like a multimedia IT group where we were allowed to film stuff on the school grounds. Maybe like film a play. When the acting group did a play, we were allowed to film it and cut it. So I got a bit of experience in that, and then also in university it was actually a lot more theoretical than I expected. So it was more about film analysis and also game analysis, like, for example, narrative, how you actually lead a player through the game world, through the environment, like environmental storytelling, and really, actually, really exciting stuff if you dig deep into it, but less technical. So there was a lot of self learning through YouTube. But nowadays, I think we live in a world where you can, as an individual, create a full project just by your own. You can record it on your phone, you can edit it on your PC, you can create a thumbnail in Photoshop, you can upload it to YouTube and share it. And there's so much potential there. So I think the technical limitations are really low,
mm.
but that's why also it's so easy to swap between the genres. So I think working around the camera, or for example, narrative between movies and games is getting so much closer. So I think working in one field doesn't actually uh, exclude the other one from your options. So I'm still swimming between those two.
Yeah, that's a good place to be, right? Like you said, they're getting closer and closer together. So like if you do want to, pivot to something similar but still
Mm.
fairly different, then it's actually not as hard as a lot of people think, or definitely not as hard as it used to be. Yeah. Was
And
there is there
same
a
goes.
so you go.
I think that's also why esports is so amazing and actually captivates me so much because it also is on the game side, obviously. But I feel like a good esports scene is also like a movie because it has a narrative, it has a lot of history in the world that is played in. Um, the players are known. So for example, if there's a team that wins the World Championship Series like 3 times in a row, and then a new team comes up and beats them the next one, it's super exciting to watch. And then the casters in a few specific esports scenes do such a great job to play with this narrative
Mm,
and create so much hype that I feel like emotionally attached to the players and the teams later on. And same goes for Gwent now. And that's also why this passion or this eagerness to create content, behind the scenes content for Gwent was also there just to fill this world, this esports world of Gwent with more content and more emotions for the viewers.
mm. You kind of make it feel like it's just one big thing, right? Like it never really ends. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you're always kind of in. There's something coming up, and I think we're finally
Hmm.
getting to that point now, which is really exciting. Can you think of a time, back in kind of back to the media thing, like as a kid when you were like, I want to make movies or whatever. So I think a lot of people have like this, like they can think of a specific time where they made something like on like their dad's like handy cam, and they're like, oh, this is cool actually. Like I want to do this, when I'm older, or do you just kind of slowly get into it?
Mm, I think it was more of a slow increase of interest in that regard in that topic because um, I never did a lot of video recording myself when I was younger. It was more consuming content
Mm,
and being fascinated about what other people create and about the impact other people have. Like, for example, with a successful YouTube channel with like millions of subscribers, you've got such a influence on those people basically because you can show them a video and you know that this amount of people will see that video and will be influenced by that video, no matter how, in what way. But that was what I think fascinated me as well. And also as a child, like in school, there was one day where we all had to write our like dream jobs, and there were people writing like I don't know, become a baker or like a musician or a football player. And I didn't write football player, but I wrote football star because
okay.
I didn't want to just play the game. I wanted to be successful at it and be like famous in it. So, and then like when I grew up, I learned a lot about like what being famous meant to people and what a like sacrifice that actually is to your own life if you
Mm,
become famous, like a actor, for example. But I still somehow can't get this idea out of my head that this is something I want to work towards. At the same time, I think I found a good compromise because, for example, in the Gwent world, I think everybody knows Burja, for example. And still, if you would go to like a normal, I don't know, restaurant or something like across the world, nobody would recognize him. It's just like the Gwent people that would recognize him. So if he goes to a Gwent event, obviously everybody knows him and everybody recognizes. So there's this very specific famousness. I don't know how you would describe it,
yeah.
but this very specific popularity, I think that is something that really uh, seems really interesting to me. So
Mm,
that's why I think esports and games and yeah, something just offside of the mainstream works really well for that kind of stuff.
mm,
But still, like watching movies and just the art of movie making is so fascinating for me. And there are other people in the game industry, like for example Hideo Kojima, that combine the two nowadays. Like
yeah.
in Death Stranding, you've got like Mats Mikkelsen, Norman Reedus, Nicolas Winding Refn, all being part of that video game. And so, yeah, I think the future is very bright in that regard.
Yeah, like we kind of alluded to earlier, but they're getting really close.
Hmm.
Like, movies and games, you've got people kind of crossing over from both mediums, whether that's people actually making them or, like, traditional actors and actresses, going to, star in a video game, for example. And
Yeah.
there's probably less of it going the other way. But, you see a bit of it. So it's going to be an interesting time going forward, especially with, I guess probably more traditionally like, single player narrative games, right? Like, like Cyberpunk,
Hmm.
for example, has Keanu Reeves in it, and he's
Yeah.
a very traditional, mainstream actor coming over to what was probably 10 years ago like a really niche Like,
Mm.
like imagine 10 years ago if there was like a someone of Keanu Reeves level going into like this weird like sci-fi role-playing game made from some company in
Oh
Poland.
my
Like
god.
it just wouldn't happen.
Being pixelated and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool world that you find yourself in, which is pretty
I
cool.
think it's actually crazy that the like gaming in general hasn't fully come into the mainstream yet, because I mean, I think in our generation it has. It's just that while we get older, people will catch on.
Mm,
But like the revenue that the game industry makes is so much greater than, for example, the film
it's
industry nowadays,
massive.
and just the impact they have on like youth culture and especially teenagers is huge. So I think the future was definitely even more connected, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a weird like I wouldn't not say a culture shock, but a weird experience. I was watching because the Rugby World Cup is on right now, and I was watching an ad on that World Cup, and it was just it's a very like homegrown like some insurance ad, and they referenced Fortnite, and it was just so weird because like Fortnite would be like the most mainstream game I guess at this point.
Hmm.
It was just very odd like hearing this like very traditional company who would be talking about like life insurance or whatever be like, ooh, and this like mum's playing Fortnite like in a lounge. It's just like such a weird thing. So I think we're getting closer and closer. And at that time, this ties really good into like mobile games, right? Which is like the probably the easiest way to get the mainstream. And Gwent is going mobile in just like a few weeks at this point. So
Yeah.
it's not far off. Do you think it's going to have a big impact? Because I like to hear what people think about mobile. I've heard pretty much every spectrum. I've heard some people say they don't think it's going to do anything, and after 2 weeks, it's going to just fall off. Others say it's going to like skyrocket Gwent into like crazy levels. Like, what's your take on it as someone who's experienced in the game and also just knows a bit about just people how they consume media and such like that.
So I am definitely hoping that it takes off. Like what I've got so much hope in this release, but
Mm,
um, I think it comes down to uh, new player experiences, and I think that's also what CDPR realized. And I think they still have to work on that until they actually release the game end of October. Because if someone picks it up and has to read like instructions for the first 20 minutes, I think it will flop hard. But if they can come in, play the first game, and I think when I played Gwent on iOS at the Challenger and tried it out, actually, um, people I like there was like a first game and like a tutorial. I haven't played the tutorial in Gwent like for months now, but I think it was updated not too long ago, and it felt
yeah.
really good because you
Mm,
learned like just the basics of it, and then after that you can expand. And I think if that's well done, then it has a good shot of actually being successful. And I got actually more optimistic today because a friend of mine came over that I didn't even know, but he used to play Gwent at the start, like a closed beta, and he actually watched Challenger number 1, where Life Coach beat Noxious in the finals, and we just rewatched that today. So that was complete throwback. Um, but he said, yeah, I mean, I don't have the time to really sit down on my PC, but I would love to play it on the go and rediscover Gwent. So I think there's a big player base that would do it. And also, I think the like gaming phone, like mobile gaming, is a very, I wouldn't say niche, but it is very pre-constructed on what works and what doesn't. So if you have a game like The Last of Us, or a very story narrative driven game, that won't work on a phone. People don't watch full length movies, or the majority of people don't watch full length movies on their phone on their train ride, but more like a 20-minute episode of, I don't know, Brooklyn Nine-Nine or a
mm,
Netflix series. And that's really easy to consume, and it's the same for, I think, mobile games. If you have a game like Gwent that you can play for like 10, 15 minutes, one round, and then you're good to go, that might work really well. A lot better than something that takes like 20 hours, like an Assassin's Creed, or like even 100 hours for their main quest. So I think it's got a good shot, and
mm,
yeah, my hopes are up.
it's that bite-sized stuff, right? You could just kind of flick it on and have like a game or two, and
Yeah,
then turn it off without having to really, worry about it. So yeah, I agree. I think it's got a pretty good shot.
and its visuals will put it apart from any other game on mobile, because it is just beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and from like the footage, like I haven't played it in person, but from what I've seen, it looks pretty true to the the PC version and the console
It,
versions. So
it looks a lot better than the console versions. Like for example, the versus screen on PC looks so, I don't know, I wouldn't say bad, but
there's a
unpolished.
couple of
But on
issues.
the
Yeah.
phone, oh my goodness, on the phone it looks so good. And if you get like an iPad Pro or something, like the Pro devices that has the higher resolution, they
Mm.
actually have the highest resolution Gwent cards on there as well. So we've got like Scourge and I don't know, all these effect cards like Ragnarok in full resolution on this iPad, and you could turn it so it's like full screen, 3D, and also it has like the gyroscope in
That's
there.
cool.
So I think people will rope a lot when mobile dropped because they would watch the cards in full screen.
I just
But
forget
it's gonna
they're
be
actually
worth it.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm excited. So that pretty much takes us to the end here. I want to ask, since you talked about you create content and make a lot of stuff like that and are quite involved. Do you have a favorite movie? And if so, why that movie?
Ooh, that is a
If
really
it's
hard
if it's
question.
too hard, you can give me a TV series. I'll accept that too.
Yeah, as if that is easier.
Well, you can
Oh my
exclude the
goodness.
movies, and we could just look at TV.
Um,
I use TV in quotes because TV series is a very broad name at this point.
okay, I'll give you like 3 or 4 of each, if that's fine.
All right,
Because I
perfect.
will never be able to decide. Okay, for movies, uh, Lord of the Rings saga in general, just completely except like the Hobbits, the original three. Then the what's it called? I think okay. Then
This isn't in order, by
you
the
know
way.
what? No, no, no. This
No.
is this is. I'll structure this way.
Okay.
World building, the Lord of the Rings, or like a
Hmm.
trilogy, best
Yep.
trilogy. Then we've got directors, and for that it would be like Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan. All of their movies are fantastic and
Yep.
always capture me and make me go into the movies multiple times. And like crazy film, I really enjoy what's it called? Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
It's a
Such
great
an amazing
movie.
movie. It is incredible, and the characters are great, and the editing and like the creativeness in that film is crazy good. And yeah, I think that's like the what I would come up from the top of my head. But there are so many good movies that I discover like recently, and now that
Mm.
I also like dip into like South or like Southeast films, like I don't know, South Korea, Korea, Japan, China. They've also got incredible storytellers over there, so don't sleep on it. Yeah.
Has there
So
been
this is
anything
more like the
recent
mainstream.
that you've seen that has really
Yeah,
like you taken
definitely.
you back?
Oh, Burning. Everybody has to go and watch Burning because
Burning.
that is an
Okay.
incredible film from South Korea. Um, it's titled a thriller, but only like the last, I'd say like 1/3 maybe is a thriller-ish. But at the start, you don't really know what's going on. I won't spoil it, but it's a great movie. Burning from South Korea.
Cool. 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 And just before we end on that, have you watched the Lord of the Rings director's cuts?
Yes,
Have you watched them
multiple
all? All. Have you ever watched them all at once in one sitting?
times. I I
Because
don't
they're
think
like
I
5
did that.
hours each.
Yeah, I don't think I did that, but I did actually. What I was very happy about a movie like a cinema near me had a showing of the director cuts like in 3 days after each other. So I went for the I think first and second one or second or third. I think I watched the second and third in the cinema recently, so that
That's
was
cool.
definitely worth it.
It would have been sweet. 'Cause, like you were probably the same. I was like too young to see them in the movies. Like I
Hmm.
was like, oh no, it's 6 when they first came out. The
Yeah,
first one
exactly.
anyway. So that would be a pretty cool experience.
And I remember now. I watched the second and third one because the first one I actually watched in like in an arena on a big screen with live orchestra. So
Oh, that's
I
cool.
basically watched all of them now on the big screen, and it's definitely worth it, the money, because just the emotions that you feel when you see like the full movie on a big screen. It's
Mm.
so good.
What was the orchestra one like?
It was actually I wouldn't say I cried, but I definitely had a few tears coming out because just the Hobbit theme and the ending of the first one where Sam and Frodo leave off with their ships and Boromir die. Oh my god, it was so
Oh,
good. And I was also there with like my childhood friend who's maybe even a bigger Lord of the Rings nerd than I am. So we were sitting there just completely done.
bawling your eyes out.
Hmm. Pretty good.
That's good. Oh well, that's gonna take us to the end. Thanks very much for sitting down, man. That was fun.
Oh, thank you.
Where can people find you? What's the best place for people to hit you up on? I'll put them on screen too, but
Um, just come to Cologne and I'll share a beer with you. That's the easiest way. Other than that, on Twitter, RyanGodric, on Twitch, RyanGodric, and on YouTube, RyanGodric. So you can just search that. That's the easiest way. I try to stream regularly when I can. Once I get back. So probably November when mobile drops. And I do like deck reports and some other content on YouTube. And Twitter is just for informing people when I go live or just chatting with people. And also you can also join the Discord if you like. But yeah,
cool,
that's
nice.
it.
Or they can go to the next Challenger event and maybe you'll be there.
Yeah, please do.
Cool, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ryan. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.